America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
This is the Greg Kelly Show.
So what do we think of the name President Harris? Can we get used to it? President Harris, President Kamala Harris. I think we could have President Kamala Harris by the end of the weekend. There's a good shot. It may not happen. Probably, I would say there's a 35% chance that Joe Biden is going to get out. Tonight's not going to go well. Yesterday was a disaster. This damage control, he keeps on digging the hole deeper and deeper. The debate story is not going away. It's over a week ago. He is hanging on by a thread. I don't know what you've been doing, but the rich people, the important people you need on your side, have all been telling Joe Biden that they're finished with him. Abigail Disney, of Walt Disney fame, she's not writing any more checks. This guy named Reed Hastings, he's the head of Netflix. He's saying, no way, we're not going to do anything with this guy anymore. There must be a change. On and on and on, major Democrats, and behind the scenes and publicly, some more, it's growing, elected people, senators, congressmen saying enough is enough. Let's get this guy the hell out of there. Now, Joe has been going around trying to say, well, I'm still viable. I got it. That was a fluke. That was a one-off. Now, we all know that wasn't a fluke. That wasn't a one-off. Things got bad yesterday. He went on the, I don't like the term black radio. Do you? Do we like the term? I mean, it just doesn't, it seems a little bit, doesn't seem, I don't know. I mean, is there white radio? I don't think so. I don't know. Black radio. But he went on with this guy Ingram in Milwaukee and another lady and just started talking about I'm the first black woman president. It was just, it's bad. It's sad. I'm not feeling sorry for him, though. Are you? Please. You brought this on yourself. Joe. However, I did figure out a big clue as to why they've been so easy on Joe, the media. Now, I know that they're biased. I know that they hate Trump. I know that they're all liberals. But is that enough for them to have been so nice and to overlook every horrible thing Joe has kind of fallen victim to, whether it's falling asleep in the middle of an international summit, falling down Air Force One, tripping up at the Air Force Academy? Why do they keep all that stuff a secret? Well, I think it has to do with money. When something doesn't make sense, my wife once said, there's always money. It's always money in the end. Now, do you know that Trump would call the fake news the enemy of the people, right? Yeah, he did. And I agree, they are. They're out to destroy this country, yes. But he didn't go to their celebration, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And what did that do to the dinner? You know what the White House Correspondents' Dinner is? They all get together and they all give each other awards. It's absolutely disgusting what they do. They worship themselves. They say they're so great. But that dinner, it's a major fundraiser. They say it's for scholarships. I'd like to see the books on that. They say it's for scholarships, but it's really just an ego trip for all of them. And they have the president come in. And that helps with sales. That helps sell tickets. Donald Trump didn't go to any of them. He did not go to one of them. And that was a big deal. It really hurt them. Joe Biden resumed the so-called tradition. Joe Biden goes to their stupid fundraiser. And part of the deal was you got to go easy on Joe. You know, get him on policy, but don't get him on any of this other stuff. Well, the other stuff is is their stock and trade. Here's the 2024 White House correspondent. And this person is just a few feet from Joe Biden. He's sitting there. It's one of those rubber chicken dinners that go on forever. Cut 19, please. Cut 19.
We begin with our business of the awards tonight, and we honor excellence, not only to recognize the superb reporting, writing, and photography, but to inspire more great work from so many of you when true facts, real accountability, and well-reported insights are so vital. I turned to a newsman I first met when I was a college intern, and he was a local news anchor in Chicago. That means I've admired him for a long time. Please welcome the anchor and managing editor of NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt.
Lester Holt. Stop for a second. Did you see true facts, accountability, truth to power? They do none of that stuff. None of that stuff. But man, do they love themselves. And here comes fake news Lester. Keep it up.
And he was a local news anchor in Chicago. That means I've admired him for a long time. Please welcome the anchor and managing editor of NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt.
Decent band, though. That's just a
Thank you, and Kelly,
record.
I'm so
Brett.
proud to be your colleague. What an amazing night this is. Thank you for everything you and the team have done. Each year, a panel of independent judges reviews dozens of entries for the 5 major WHCA Journalism Awards. It's my honor to announce this year's winners. The Aldo Beckman Award for Overall Excellence in White House Coverage, named for a former association president, the late Chicago Tribune correspondent Aldo Beckman, goes to Barack Ravid of Axios.
Oh, stop. There are 5 major awards. Then there are 15 lesser awards. Then there are another 10 honorary awards. You got the Aldo Beckman Award. Aldo Beckman has an award. The late Aldo Beckman, of course. So that takes all night long. They give each other trophies. Everybody leaves. By the end of the night, everybody has a trophy. It's like one of those woke high school soccer teams, where they don't even have a goalie, the middle school. Here's another lady, really, really stuck on her. This is it. It's all about, look at how important we are. And they made kind of a deal with the devil. Joe Biden falls asleep at a summit. Joe Biden speaks incoherently at the Brussels G7, and it doesn't get reported. Why not? Because he went to their stupid dinner. Cut 20.
Covering news that emanates from the White House and around the world. Our work at its best seeks information and accountability, not specific outcomes. In that vein, we ask questions. We often shout questions. We would welcome more opportunities to pose them in a calm and measured way. We strive for knowledge, not noise. These days, with the boundless resources of taxpayers and donors and the skill of marketing experts, any White House or campaign can create its own content. We believe that independent professionals on hand to document the events of a presidency are stewards of something precious, more enduring than any news cycle or trending topic. We preserve the historical record.
Stop! Of course they don't. All of these things that we have seen, the freezes, what did they finally do when they had to? Well, first they were cheap fakes made up by right-wing media. And now the cat's out of the bag, and now they have to tiptoe ever so gently around the issue. It's out, but it's not really out. You have my Today Show clip from today? You got to find that Today Show clip. It's interesting. They put it in, but they're still covering up for him. And here's another one of these self-absorbed, we tell the truth. Truth to power. Cut 24.
People has a nice ring to it. Thank you, Governor, and welcome to the White House Correspondents Association dinner. For the first time since 2016, we have both the President and the Vice President here, as well as their spouses. Their presence is a statement, an endorsement of the importance of a free and independent press.
Stop.
Even if they don't always...
You see what they did? They're there. They were there. They get protection because they showed up. They got it because they showed up. Isn't that amazing? It's just about bucks. It's about money. That's it. Yeah. Hey, and then he got to the podium and he actually cracked a few jokes. Wasn't that funny? But I can't believe it that it just came down to that. Is that all it means? Meanwhile, Trump is letting it loose. Cut 8, please. Cut 8.
Is something
What did I do with the debate? Amazing. Kick that old broken down pile of crap. Yeah. It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so bad. So I just can't imagine. But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man. A very tough guy. And they see him, they probably, he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting. Good. Very good. Yeah, that's amazing. Just keep knocking him out, right?
Well, I think that might have been – I think he knew the camera was going. I think he knew, and the contrast is so beautiful. Now, let's see here. Oh, yeah, a vital story. This kind of makes sense. It's not as bad as it seems, but it's still bad. Cut 7. There's Joe Biden on the south lawn of the White House talking about what a big shot he is, basically. Cut 7.
One last thing. I used to think when I was a senator there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. We go on the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.
Well, the congestion, right? I'm such a big shot that they close it doesn't work, and he doesn't work, and everybody knows it. So tonight is the big George Stephanopoulos interview. What difference does it make? I mean, this is taped. It's not high stakes. He's going to be given the pussycat treatment. I don't see him going after him, going for the jugular. And even if he does, it's just not the same. And it's a Friday night during July 4th week. Who's going to be watching? Cut 11, please. Cut 11.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge moment as well. It's not going to be an hour-long interview like in years past. The ABC News team is hoping for 15 to 20 minutes. But donors are the lifeblood of campaigns. And if they start to think that they're going to shift their money to trying to flip the House, to save the Senate, then Biden's in real trouble. And so there's going to be a lot of donors who say, hey, if Biden talks all the time about saving democracy and the threat that Trump poses, that Democrats think, then it's ironic for him to just say, well, a majority of Democrats want me off the ticket, want another choice. I'm going to just ignore that part of democracy as well.
And this is the governor of Hawaii. His name is Josh Green. I thought it would be something different. Cut 12, please. Cut 12.
I'm a physician, and so it was my place amongst the other governors, the Democratic governors, to ask the president just humbly, how are you, Mr. President? Are you okay? Thursday, the debate day, you weren't who we are accustomed to seeing. The president reassured us. He did share with me, as I've shared, that he was exhausted, and he had done quite a lot of travel in the 2 weeks before, and he didn't make any excuses about it. Exhaustion is very real for governors and for presidents, I can tell you. He gets up probably in the extreme wee hours of the morning to help our country, as do we all for our states. So it's not uncommon to have fatigue. That was what he shared, and I think that is pretty normal for an elderly gentleman who's 81.
It's really, they just lie right to our faces. Now, we know the difference between exhaustion and something going on with the brain, okay? And, when he travels around the world, and he was done with the travel 12 days before the debate, doesn't travel like the way regular people travel, carrying their luggage, waiting in lines, going through security, then sitting in one of those seats. Just no. Yeah, he has a bed. He has a house. He has a flying house, the flying White House. I've been in it. I've been in that 747 Air Force One. It's like you barely feel like you're flying. You can do whatever you want on that thing, including sleep. It's got a huge bed. It ain't working. Everybody knows it's not working. And unfortunately for Joe, the clock is ticking fast. President Harris, it could happen, but don't worry. She's even more beatable by Trump. Be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
You heard about this horrible crash downtown Manhattan. Like 3 people killed at some sort of July 4th celebration. Looks like the driver was drunk. He was driving a Ford F-150. And I'm looking at his mugshot. Man, oh man, oh man. His face is like broken into 6 pieces. And he's bleeding and he's all swollen. But, man, he caused a lot of death. The suspected drunk driver accused of mowing down 10 people, killing 3 at a 4th of July celebration on the Lower East Side is a substance abuse counselor and author of something called The Sober Addict, who claims his passion is to help prevent death, the Post can reveal. Daniel Christopher Hayden, 44, has been charged with driving while intoxicated and for not having a valid license after he allegedly drove a gray Ford F-150 through the Water Street and Jackson Street intersection, over the sidewalk, and into a bunch of people celebrating inside a park. He was expected to face additional charges. Hayden, who lives in New Jersey and in the Bronx, penned a 2020 book called The Sober Addict, which is billed as a practical guide on how to effectively live and cope with the dysfunctional, lifelong disease of addiction. The Sober Addict is a book for all those impacted by the disease addiction. Within the pages of D.C. Hayden's book, addicts, family members, enablers, and helpers will find unconventional ways to combat addiction from onset to remission. Here's a way. Don't drink. Don't use drugs. This guide will help you learn how to function with this dysfunctional and chronic illness. Now, what the hell does that mean? You know, there are people out there who talk about this. I've heard about this. If you can control it. No, you can't control it. In the book, Hayden describes himself as an ex-professional addict with over 18 years of use and abuse experience. Claims addicts don't choose addiction. Addiction chooses them. My passion is to help my addicted clients successfully move through the various stages of change to prevent their deaths, he wrote. Hayden's Amazon author bio lists him as a substance abuse counselor, instructor, public speaker, and wellness advocate in New York City. His mission is to use his lifelong experience with addiction to teach addicts how to save themselves and achieve long-term recovery. The 2 of those killed late Thursday were identified as Lucille Pinckney, 59 years old, and her son Herman, 38, who lived together near the crash scene, as the third remained unidentified early Friday. The other 7 injured included a mother and her 11-year-old son, according to sources. They were rushed to Bellevue. Gosh, don't drink. Trump says don't drink. You know where he learned that lesson? From his older brother, Fred. And Fred had big problems. Fred died in the early 1980s, alcohol-related illnesses. And he told his brother all along, whatever you do, don't drink. And it's really interesting. Fred, easily could have told his little brother, hey, be my drinking buddy. Let's go into the city and drink. But if Fred had done that, there would have been no President Trump. There would have been no Trump Tower. You can't do these magnificent things if you're hungover or buzzed. It's interesting. 2 of our last 3 presidents have been teetotalers. 2. Bush didn't drink. He did up until he was 40. Whoa. He did a few other things, too. No drinking, and no drinking for Trump.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
This guy is fantastic. Michael Schellenberg, been around for a while. Don't agree with him about a lot of stuff. He kind of leans left, but he's often a contrarian to the folks on the left. And sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? Ancient Chinese saying, ancient Chinese proverb. What was that? That was some rice commercial, right? Ancient Chinese secret, huh? Yeah, laundry detergent. Oh, boy. Which was, quite frankly, ethnically a little bit on the nose, that commercial, right? I don't think we make commercials like that anymore. Okay, hotshot. Michael Schellenberger. Over the last few days, we, like many others, have observed that Joe Biden appears to lack the mental capacity for the job of president. All right, a correction right there. We, you and me, have known that for 4.5 years, since before he was president. We've known that a long time. And we noted this is a problem because Americans don't want unelected deep state bureaucrats running the White House. That's tyranny, not democracy. But Biden has repeatedly made clear that he intends to stay in the race. I'm running, he told supporters. I'm the Democrat Party's nominee. No one is pushing me out. Of course, Biden could still drop out before Election Day, which is 4 months away. The New York Times and others have published rumors that he might do that, including in a July 3rd story. Biden tells allies he knows he has only days to salvage his candidacy. But over the last few days, Biden and his aides have strenuously denied those reports. And yet the media won't let it go. They're acting outraged that Biden is moving forward, as though the decision about whether he will compete for re-election were theirs rather than his. Why Biden must withdraw, exclaimed The Economist in the cover for its in the story for its cover, which consisted of a picture of the presidential seal on a walker. I saw that. Day after day, all of the mainstream news organizations, from the New York Times to the Washington Post to CNN, are not simply urging Biden to step down. They are plotting how it should be done. Democratic allies, strategists, and elected officials are in growing agreement about the conditions required for Biden to step aside, wrote the Post yesterday. The media are also blurring the line between themselves and President Biden as the head of state. The most dramatic example of this is yesterday's editorial in the Washington Post with the headline, "What if Biden spoke these words? It is a fantasy speech by Biden announcing he won't run for re-election." I've seen this before. More and more. You got op-eds. They've been doing it for decades, actually. Like the person they're writing about should say something like this. My season of service is nearing its close, writes the Post's fictional Biden. This was a hard truth to face, but it is the natural course of things, as evident as the progression from spring to summer, from fall to winter. This is why I have decided to withdraw from the campaign for President of the United States. While some are promoting tonight's interview by ABC's George Stephanopoulos and Biden as a make-or-break interview, the truth is that the media's mind is already made up. The media are so confident that they will force Biden to step down that they are now discussing his replacement. Why Kamala Harris, a stronger candidate than you think, explains MSNBC. Reporters have dropped all pretense of being concerned about democratic process. Here, wrote New York Magazine's Jonathan Chait on the 4th of July, is what I think should happen. A small group of party leaders say Biden, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Jen O'Malley Dillon should decide on a new candidate over the next week. The group would present its choice and instruct delegates to ratify the nomination at the convention. Editorial boards and journalists are, of course, entitled to write what they want to write, but there is something unseemly about a newspaper play acting as president of the United States. Like so many others in the media, the editorial board writers seem deeply confused about their role, and this is hardly the first time. The media was so outraged by the election of Donald Trump in 2016 that it waged multiple misinformation campaigns alleging wild conspiracy theories, chief among them that Trump was a Manchurian candidate controlled by Russia and that Russia was responsible for his election. That conspiracy theory resulted in Senate hearings and a special prosecution, an investigation by Robert Mueller. After Mueller decided that there was insufficient evidence to charge Trump or his campaign with collusion, the media would not let it go and continued to suggest that there was a conspiracy and that Trump simply hid it. Or consider the Hunter Biden laptop. The news media spread a conspiracy theory in October 2020 that it was the result of a Russian hack and leak operation. There was never any evidence for this, and yet the mainstream news media continued to suggest there was some secret or hidden information about the laptop that incriminated Trump, thereby distracting attention from the incriminating evidence that Biden had worked with his addict son to run a vast influence peddling operation. Over the last 18 months, we have continued dozens of articles. We have published dozens of articles about the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA, FBI, and DHS, abusing its power to frame Trump as a Russian asset to cover up Biden's influence peddling. Such acts are unethical, illegal, and a profound threat to democracy. We have also documented the campaign of lawfare against Trump, waged by leading Democrats aimed at incarcerating him and preventing him from becoming president. This campaign has involved close allies to Biden and major Democratic Party allied organizations. But the abuses of power by the intelligence community and the Democrat Party would have gone nowhere had the news media en masse not encouraged them. In the same way that the intelligence community and Democratic Party violated the boundary between government and politics and law, respectively, the news media has violated the boundary between itself and government. Political theorists have referred to the media for centuries as the Fourth Estate. In Europe, the Fourth Estate stood in contrast to the three centers of power: the people, the clergy, and the nobility. In the United States, the Fourth Estate stands in contrast to the three branches of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. But today, the media has achieved new levels of power. It is arguably more powerful than the government itself. It certainly acts that way. Why is that? What has led the media to become so powerful that its representatives act as though they should decide who is allowed to be president and who isn't? And what will it take to shrink its power back to size? Great questions. Great essay. Michael Schellenberger. And we got to subscribe to everything that this guy is doing, even though I don't agree with a lot. He is, public.news. Go to public.news. And it's got a lot of great stuff there. Hey, can I go back to the Donald Trump and his brother, the alcoholic? Very touching story, actually. The late, great Fred Trump. He was the eldest. I think he was the eldest, right? But he died the earliest. He was an airline pilot. He tried a bunch of different things, but he was a big drinker, died at the age of 43. And here's President Trump talking about him. Go ahead.
I learned myself. I had a brother, Fred. Great guy. Best-looking guy, best personality, much better than mine. But he had a problem. He had a problem with alcohol. And he would tell me, don't drink, don't drink. He was substantially older, and I listened to him, and I respected, but he would constantly tell me, don't drink. He'd also add, don't smoke. But he would say it over and over and over again. And to this day, I've never had a drink. And I have no longing for it. I have no interest in it. To this day, I've never had a cigarette. Don't worry, those are only two of my good things. I don't want to tell you about the bad things. There's plenty of bad things, too. But he really helped me. I had somebody that guided me. And he had a very, very, very tough life because of alcohol. Believe me, very, very tough life. He was a strong guy, but it was a tough thing that he was going through. But I learned because of Fred. I learned. And that's what I think is so important. This was an idea that I had where if we can teach young people not to take drugs, just not to take them. When I see friends of mine that are having difficulty with not having that drink at dinner, where it's literally almost impossible for them to stop, I say to myself, I can't even understand it. Why would that be difficult? But we understand why it is difficult. The fact is, if we can teach young people and people generally not to start, it's really, really easy not to take them. And I think that's going to end up being our most important thing.
Isn't that kind of a beautiful thing? And where is that national discussion? Why is it considered a rite of passage when you're in high school that you're supposed to drink and you're supposed to pop pills? Why is that? Why is it just kind of taken for granted? You know, and I grew up in the 1980s when I was in high school and stuff like that. There was a wave of movies, 16 Candles, what were the other ones? Those John Hughes movies, Say Anything, Breakfast Club, where kind of drinking was just kind of, obviously you drank. And I'm not saying the movies caused it. I mean, it was before that, but everybody, I don't know, the drinking age was 21, but 14-year-olds, it was the coolest thing in the world to do. I did not do it. I developed a problem much, much later, like when I was in my late 30s, basically. I never really messed around with alcohol. I was like drunk 4 times in my life in 3 decades. But then I kind of got into it. I can see experimenting at a young age, but you know what? Who needs it? And there's not been that national conversation. You know what the most effective campaign in advertising history and it's scoffed at and it's laughed at, but everybody knew it, and it was so effective. Just say no. Remember that, Nancy Reagan, the Just Say No campaign? That had a real impact on the culture. You know, people come around there, they sit around, they come up with slogans all the time. And in advertising, there are like a handful from the 20th century. You know, I'm loving it. What's another one? Just say no. I can't think of another one. Camel is cool, like a cigarette. What, I don't know, some cigarettes from back in the day when they were advertising on TV. Just say no. What's wrong with that? I love the idea. And where the hell is Barack Obama? Talk about the most selfish guy in the world. I know what he's doing right now. He's getting Michelle ready because there's no way that Kamala can win an election. Michelle, however, they think. I'll tell you this about Michelle. She could raise money. She could raise $100 million in a weekend. And did I ever tell you about the time I was thinking about running for Congress? I was thinking about running for Congress, and I met with the Congressional Campaign Committee. It's 20 years ago. This is back when I was actually more Democrat than conservative. And I was so prepared on all the issues. I was ready for any question. And all they wanted to talk about was money. How much do you have? How much can you raise? Who do you know? Okay, right. And then just money, 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 money. So Michelle, that's the thing. That's why we have to take her seriously. And it's money. It's money. She's got it, and she knows people with a lot more of it. Be right back.
Greg Kelly. You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
Has anybody ever heard of Jeff Vaughn? Vaughn. He's a big anchor in Los Angeles. Jeff Vaughn, 58 years old. He's suing CBS for $5 million for discrimination. He believes he was discriminated against because he is a white male, heterosexual of a certain age, and he was pushed out. And you know what? From what I can see here, I'm sure he's absolutely right. And I wish him all kinds of success because I haven't seen all the facts, all the data. Maybe he was showing up late to work, but I kind of doubt that. Good for him because that is happening. It is a thing. And I don't want anybody to be discriminated against on things they can't control, whether you're a pansexual Hispanic person or whether you're a white heterosexual dude. Nobody should be judged. And part of the story here that kind of broke my heart, he was being iced out. You know, for a long time, he wasn't invited to certain things. He had a great deal of expertise. Apparently, he was here in New York City on 9/11, and for the 9/11 anniversary, they wouldn't let him participate, and he couldn't even pitch stories. And, I know I'm not going to say where I went through something like this, but I did go through something like this professionally, and it stinks. It really does. I'm not saying it was because of my race or whatever, but for what, whatever, at some point you said, okay, yeah, that guy, he's on his way out. He's not, and it just is a terrible thing to put anybody through. I don't understand why people especially, I guess I know because it becomes a legal thing, and everybody, okay, we can't say that we're going to fire this guy because he could come in here with an Uzi submachine gun. Is that part of it? Is that why? I don't know. You got to think about these things, I guess, but I just wish there was a little bit more humanity in the world, in the workplace. I will say this is one of the greatest workplaces in history. WABC, the culture here, it is wonderful. It really is. And there's all kinds of free food. All right, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Let's see here. Natalie is on Long Island. Hello.
Hi, Greg. I just was listening to you talk about Donald Trump and how he doesn't drink and how you were saying that how is it that in high school it becomes a rite of passage to be drinking? I went to high school. I was in middle school and high school through the 70s. I had a lot of friends, but they were all drinkers, big drinkers. At young age. Hey,
listen, are you like unloading the groceries or something? I hear cabinets opening and closing. Do me a favor, stop what you're doing and tell us the story. What are you doing? You're doing something. You're doing something.
I had mail in my hands and I was putting it down on the table.
All right, just chill for a second and give me your complete attention. And tell us what's going on.
Well, I had a lot of friends in high school, but all of them were drinkers. And after being drinkers for a while, they moved over to pot because, well, then they could get high without throwing up. And I partook in none of it. And even, I know you say like, well, it's kind of a rite of passage, but you can avoid it. You can step away from it. I did. It was very hard because I had a lot of friends. They were all this way. And I spent a lot of time around them, but I didn't do what they did. And I really do attribute my success in that was having a family that was very firm in the foundation of love and faith. I am the youngest of 4 girls. I adored my sisters. I looked up to them. There's a good difference in age because I was quote unquote an oops baby. But they're good people. They were very good people. Faith. They went in good directions. And my mother and father were very, very good people, very, very firm in their faith. And they lived it and they taught it to us. And I felt like, how could I go and drink and get drunk? How could I ever come home and face them? I could never disrespect them that way. And it was sometimes it wasn't easy, not because I couldn't say no. I did and I could, but you had to put up with, oh yeah, okay, you're not drinking, you're not. But it didn't bother me because I knew what I had at home was my firm foundation.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I know what it feels like to be the odd man out. I was just talking about that. I've been the odd man out a lot in life. I wouldn't drink in high school. I didn't drink in college or the Marine Corps. And there were many times like, what's with this guy? Why isn't he drinking? What's wrong with him? So, well, that's great. My dad, I didn't want to, he was a police officer. I didn't want to do that. Hey, but the other thing was, even in high school, I had a lot of friends, but by the time senior year rolled around, they were all doing pot and drinking and kind of had moved on from each other. You don't make new friends when you're in 12th grade. So I really had nowhere to sit in the cafeteria. So I'd go to the library and I'd read the New York Times. And I became like super smart. And in one regard, I'm not saying I was super well informed. And I took a current events test and I got a huge scholarship to college because I passed this thing. And because I was immersed in current events. And that's because I went to the library and because I had no cool kids to sit with. Did you do something like that? Did you pick something up that you would not have picked up otherwise?
Actually, not exactly, because I know this. You did a smart thing and a good thing. I just didn't feel. I knew that my other thing was my home life. I
love it. Listen, do me a favor. You say hi to everybody in your home, okay?
I will.
All right, Natalie, I got to take another call. You're the best. Thank you. Tony is in, it says you're in the West. What does that mean? The West where? Where are you?
Greg,
what?
I'm in Westchester.
West.
Okay,
it just says West. The West. Like you're a lion dog-faced pony soldier out there at a John. So what's going on?
Wild West. Okay, first of all, I affirm you a million times on how you speak to the Bible and that God leads you. And, these people that call in and say something really advanced, if you read the Bible, you start out just like a baby, and then you just keep, and you do. I know you keep reading and learning, and then the Bible opens itself up to you. Okay, that I just want to tell you. So don't ever feel like, oh, I don't know enough, I can't respond. All you can say is I'm learning, right?
Yeah. No. Thanks for the reminder, too. We got 6 months left in 2024, and I'm treating it like a mini New Year. You know what I mean? I want to clean up a lot of things and ritualize a bunch of stuff. Ritualize it. When and where I read that Bible, because I will tell you, I fell into a little bit of where I was talking about it more than I was reading it. You know what I mean? So you don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So all right. So, but anyway, back to you.
So that and prayer, and then I know you just said you work for a great station, that your owner is a great guy. I've heard that over and over. Why, he's no, I don't think he's the counterpart to Soros, but I don't know if it was Bill O'Reilly.
He's the opposite of Soros. He's a patriot. Tony, I got to go. Thank you.
The Greg Kelly Show.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do, because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
All right, so there he goes, calling himself a black woman, kinda, right? You know, it's that's who Joe is. It's just gibberish, and he now he's getting called out on it, where before he never was called out on it. And it's really bad for him, because now it's people are actually writing this stuff down. They gave him a pass. Now they can't anymore. And now they don't want to anymore. They want him out. During this tour where he's like, yeah, look, I'm really normal. He sounds just like the guy at the debate. All right. So he goes on black radio. I got to stop saying black radio. That's what the Democrats called it, black radio. Is there such a thing? I don't think so. I don't know. Black radio, white radio, Asian radio. It's radio. Earl Ingram is out of Milwaukee, I think, and I'm sorry, but he's trying to be all kind of new and fresh. He sounds just like the guy the first 5 minutes of the debate. The first 5 minutes of the debate last Thursday, he sounded like the same guy on radio. Cut 30, please. Cut 30.
I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you, sir.
Fire away, man.
Can you speak to some accomplishments that we may or may not be familiar with about your record, especially here in Wisconsin?
Well, there's a number of them. For example, back in March, I was in Milwaukee. I announced $36 million for the 6th Street project to reconnect communities, helping families and businesses come together. You know, we built highways back in those days, separated communities, breaking up businesses, breaking up economic opportunities. And we're rebuilding them to connect those communities. I'm proud to be
Yeah, this is that. Oh, gosh. All right. So he goes on like this. And that is one of the biggest scams. It's basically just a giveaway. Did you hear that? We're going to unite communities, families, and businesses. I know what he's saying, and it's all built on a great big misinterpretation, and now it's a lie. You know the Cross Bronx Expressway? Okay. We all take it. It's all backed up all the time. They say the Cross Bronx ruined the Bronx somehow because it divided families. No, you just got to walk across the street. I never really understood it. I looked at it. I've read that big book, Power Broker. There are some very interesting things in that book, but there are also some mistakes in that book. And all the liberals love to brag how they read it, although they didn't really read it. And it's behind them whenever they do interviews. The Power Broker by Robert Caro, who's a great guy. But like any book, not all of it is right. And one of the things he said is that Robert Moses was such a racist that the racism is built into basically the infrastructure of New York City and the surrounding areas. For instance, the bridges that go over the Southern State Parkway, you ever notice they're like kind of stone bridges and they're arched? I was fascinated with those bridges as a kid. He says, erroneously, he's wrong on this, that Moses made them the way they are to keep buses, so buses couldn't be on those parkways. Now, and why didn't he want the buses? He envisioned black people coming from the city going to their beautiful beaches in Nassau County, and that's what he wanted to stop. Now, he's wrong about that because the data, when those bridges went up, quite frankly, there weren't that many black people in New York as a percentage of the city. There were more per capita in the state of Maine than in New York. The other thing that's really dumb in that book, and this is a doozy. He said that Robert Moses was making fun of black people because he had gargoyles in the park, in Central Park by the zoo. And what did he have? He had a lot of metallic monkeys that were kind of right into I love monkeys. Curious George, my favorite character growing up. But some of these monkeys are up in Harlem. Wrought iron fences, right? If you look carefully, you can see monkeys. They're trying to say no, it's not. All right. It's not about black people. It's about monkeys. They're a delightful thing. They bring a smile to kids' faces. And they're not only in the, up in the hood, they're downtown, Upper East Side, you name it. You can see monkeys in the lattice work so that kind of stuff. And they actually spend money taking the monkeys down. Can you believe that? To the sorrow of children everywhere, no matter what they look like, no matter what they look like. All right. The other thing is, let's look at some polls. All right. Now that usually doesn't get me too excited, but these polls are pretty. After the debate, there has been such a dramatic swing everywhere. Shocking poll shows 12-point post-debate swing toward Trump in New Hampshire. And then listen to these other states. Wisconsin, Trump 49, Biden 43. Pennsylvania, Trump 48, Biden 43. Michigan, Trump 45, Biden 42. Arizona, Trump 49, Biden 42. Nevada, Trump 47, Biden 40. Texas, Trump 49, Biden 39. Ohio, Trump 51, Biden 41. Montana, Trump 56, Biden 36. Chance of winning, forecasted by The Economist, updated post-debate. Chance of winning, Trump, 74%. That's a new high. Biden, 25%. The Electoral College map at this moment, Trump, 310 votes to Biden, 228. You need 270 to win. Pennsylvania, 73%. It's a 73% chance of winning. Now, he's not in the polls, but that's the projected, like kind of the odds. The election forecast by The Economist. They don't screw around. Trump has a 69% chance of winning Wisconsin, a 65% chance of winning Michigan, a 76% chance of winning Arizona. Georgia, 79% to Biden's 21%. Nevada, 64% to Biden's 36%. We could go on like this. Let's see, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Donald Trump, 82% chance of winning. Biden, 18% chance of winning. Another forecast on July 4th has Trump winning 312 electoral votes to Biden 226. Overall, 75% chance of winning to Biden's 25% chance. Oh, man, he is dead. He is finished. And you think they're going to stick around and watch him lose? I don't think so. There are going to be some dramatic and undemocratic things that are going to be happening very, very soon. Man, oh, man, oh, man. There are two people I really can't stand. Joe Biden's father, right? And his wife. Oh, boy. One of the reasons why I can't stand, well, it's really not Joe Biden's father's fault. He could not have said all those dumb things that Joe says he said. But here's Jill. I saw her on The View this morning. Now, it was actually a rerun from a couple of episodes ago. But she couldn't be more wrong about everything and more kind of stuck on herself, too. Cut 23, please. Cut 23.
What message does the president have to give to make people get it that we are in a better place now?
Yeah. Well, we are in a better place now, and what you're saying is true, and we have to get out that message. Every vote counts. This election is important, and so we are going everywhere. We're meeting people where they are. We're meeting them in person. We're meeting them over the TV. We're meeting them in social media. We're not taking anything for granted because Joe has done amazing things for this country, and we have to get the message out.
Yay, fake news, fake news.
You know, one of the things that keeps sticking to him, which irritates me, is that about his age. His age. That really drives me nuts because I'm the same age as your husband. Yes! I'm reluctant to tell that, but because I want people to know this is what 81 is, okay? But I know, I have met him a couple of times. He seems right on top of it. I said to him last time he was here, do you work out? He said yes. Yes. Every day?
Mm-hmm. Yes, every day.
What do we have to do to tell people that the man is competent, alert, and doing the job? And it's not about his age. The other one is doddering and doesn't remember anything. And can't put a sentence together and has like brain farts in the middle of a paragraph, and they go after Joe.
Oh boy, well, Joy Behar, how crude can you be? How crude? How crude was that? I had no idea she was 81 years old. We know. I want to see what Jill says to this. Go ahead.
election is not about age because, like you're saying, I mean, Donald Trump's going to be, what, 78?
78, yeah.
And Joe's 81. They're basically the same age.
Right.
So, but it's about character. This election is about character. Yep. So you have two choices. You have my husband, Joe, who you all know, who has integrity. He's strong. He's steady. He's a leader. He's smart. He's energetic. Or you have chaos.
That's right.
Yes, or you have chaos.
Right.
Well, Dr. Biden, the first president...
Shut up with the Dr. Biden. Yeah, we do have chaos. Chaos in the streets. You can't buy a candy bar without asking for the clerk to open up the case, right? We got legalized shoplifting, crime everywhere. We've got the Israel under siege, Gaza, the October 7th, Ukraine, they did it. We have our disastrous Afghan withdrawal and inflation out of control. Yeah, this is crisis. And we're away. The only thing that was kind of like chaotic was Trump's Twitter account. All right, from 2017 to 2021, Trump's Twitter account seemed to upset people. But everything else was excellent. Excellent. Hey, speaking of crime, this is a new trend. Guys going into high-end restaurants like Carbone. Have you been to Carbone? Every time I hear Carbone, it doesn't sound high-end to me. It sounds like that guy in the Godfather, you know? You won't see him no more, right? Wasn't that Carbone? Anyway, that's what I think of when I think Godfather. I don't think high-end restaurant, but it's a high-end restaurant somewhere downtown. I haven't been, and guys are driving up to it, bad guys, on electric bikes, mopeds sometimes, and they go in there with a gun, two guys, and they steal watches from the guys and diamond rings from the girls, and then they get out in about 40 seconds flat. It's been happening in Manhattan. It's been happening in Brooklyn. That's not happened before. All right? This sounds like something out of the 1800s, a stagecoach robbery, right? Stick them up in a restaurant. You know, I used to want to get a really nice watch. I've been thinking about getting a watch. I want a new watch. Why would I get a new watch? You know, I mean, seriously. And now, you know what's happening? I'm sorry, but I blame some, not all, but some of the bus boys. Because the bus boys are telling the guys outside, you know, this guy at table 5 has a really nice watch. This woman is wearing a very expensive necklace. I don't think they just come in there, you know, hoping for the best. They know where to go. They've been tipped off. Someone's wearing a Patek Philippe watch. You know, Patek Philippe, I don't think the name Philippe suits me, but it's a very high-end watch. I don't think it's for me. Patek Philippe. And it looks like a regular sports watch, but these things are worth about $100,000. You got to be careful out there. I thought when I read, I've been reading about this in the Post, and even the Times did a piece on it. Well, maybe I just need a gun, you know? But it's really tough to shoot somebody in a restaurant, right? I mean, you're indoors. These guys come in, all hell breaks loose. I mean, in my head, my fantasy would be, you know, I grab my gun from my ankle holster and I shoot the guy. Sorry, but I do think about things like that. But you know what? What if the guy ducks and I shoot a waiter by mistake? You know, so maybe that's not the answer, you know? Maybe the answer is waiting until they leave and then going outside and shooting him as he runs away. Which, I'm sorry, I think I'm capable of. Somebody once said, you would do that? I said, yeah, I think I might. If somebody stole from me like that, so you shoot him in the back? Well, what the hell is that? The law of the West? Why can't I? I don't know. I mean, I would be so, somebody broke into my car once. I felt so, how could they do this? And I was capable. Anyway, we have laws. Well, I follow the laws. I'm just telling you how I feel sometimes. All right. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
Can't believe it. He's bragging. He's bragging about Delaware. I'm the first Catholic ever elected statewide in Delaware. Even if that's true, do you talk about it in this moment? And then right now, he's on the ground in Wisconsin. He's going to try to have a rally there. Number one, I bet it's going to be indoors because indoors you can kind of mask the low turnout better than you can outdoors. And he's the game is to knock it out of the park. I don't think that's going to be possible. I mean, he is who he is. All right, Ted, hello. You're in Paramus. Hi.
Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. You were talking about the connection between the Biden White House and the money for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Well, it's even deeper than that. The Obama administration hired more press people than any previous administration. The media, you know as well as anyone, the media industry is on very uncertain financial footing these days with the decline of advertising. And in the case of the Obama administration, even more absurd was the hiring of Ben Rhodes as national security advisor, whose only credential to have been in that position was the fact that his brother headed up CBS News.
No, all right, you're right. They did hire a lot of former press people, not exactly high-level people. Ben Rhodes was not the national security advisor. He was the spokesman for the national security advisor. He was the director of national security communications. And he was with Obama during the campaign before his brother got that job. So the first part, you're dead on. That part, not so much, because Rhodes had been with him for a long time. He'd been in politics. These guys don't, you think they go to national security school to be the national security spokesman. They don't. They work on a couple of campaigns to get close to somebody, and presto changeo, they get these big jobs. But all good except for that part. All right, you get me on that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ted. Good stuff. Joan, you're on Long Island.
Oh, good afternoon, Greg. I just wanted to give you a short call. I wanted to compliment you on the interview you did with the former husband of Mrs. Biden the other day. It was most telling. I said to your screener, after you finish listening to that, it's not difficult to draw your own conclusions. That gentleman was I thought he was very gentlemanly, the way he answered questions, and the way you spoke with him, it was terrific. So thanks a lot.
No, my pleasure. Getting to know that guy has been great, Bill Stevenson. And there's something about him. And he's got great charisma and integrity. And you can just tell he's a nice guy, and he is. And what they put him through, what Joe Biden tried to do to that man and his family, well, maybe we'll play a little bit of that when we come back.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid.
Listening to the Greg Kelly Show.
Hey, congratulations to the new Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi. What the hell was that guy's name again? Anyway, he's gone. Keir Starmer is the new UK Prime Minister. And even though they don't call themselves a Conservative Party, they're basically conservative. They got it backwards over there in terms of the labels. Good luck to him. He's moving into 10 Downing Street as we Rishi Sunak. I think, what the hell was his name? Rishi Sunak? Sorry, and there was another one before that. It's not that the name's complicated. There's the turnover has been so frequent. Anyway, good luck to him. I hope he's a friend of the U.S. So everybody has been asking me about this interview with Bill Stevenson, the ex-husband of Jill Biden. Never gets talked about, although he's been talking to me, and his story is out there, and it's an important one. And he is such a great man, really great integrity, and We talked on the radio the day before yesterday, and I got the whole thing in full, ready for you. Hit it.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Jill Biden denying reality, accusing Donald Trump of lying. Dr. Jill Biden. Well, folks, he's back. One of our favorite guests, Bill Stevenson. He was married to Jill Biden for a number of years back in the 1970s. Yeah, it's true. Bill Stevenson, welcome back. How are you, pal?
Greg, I'm doing good. How are you today? Beautiful weather, huh?
It is nice. Are you in Delaware right now?
Yes, I am, sir. I'm in Delaware. I'm actually in my office, and I am about a mile and a half from the Biden house.
Wow. It's a tiny state, that Delaware. How many counties?
3 counties. And it's funny you mention that because Joe Biden lost the southern county of Sussex, tied in the center county of Kent, and won in the county where Wilmington, Delaware is, where I live. But he only won 54% of the vote in his home state. That's pretty funny, right?
That is interesting. I didn't realize that. All right, look, I guess let me cover this real quick. You were young. You were living, you were living the life. You were in your early 20s. You met Jill. You fell in love. You got married. Everything was fine. She's going to school. You're doing your business. And you start volunteering for Joe Biden. You start hanging out with him, raising money for him. He wins the election. He loses his wife and 2 children, but he's got his other kids. At some point after he becomes a United States Senator, it is believed that your wife started seeing Joe Biden romantically. Can you tell me how you found out about that truth, how you learned that she was now seeing Joe Biden?
It's an easy story, Greg. First of all, we were married for very close to 5 years. Things were going good. My business had taken off. We were young. She was 18. I had just turned 21 when we met in the summer of 1969 in Ocean City, New Jersey. And she came up and asked a question about my car. Next thing I know, 6 months later, we're married. And, it was a pretty strong and very successful marriage. And I maybe was working too hard. Who knows? But I have no regrets about that. The first warning came when one of her great friends at school came up to me and said, I think that Jill and Joe Biden are getting a little too close. And I thought, that's a little crazy. Never saw that coming before. But the real clincher was I had just bought her a brand new 1974 Corvette for her birthday in June. She loved this car, and she drove it everywhere. And then I guess it was the second week we figured out of September, it was Wednesday, that she said she was going to class in Wilmington, Delaware, Greg. And on Saturday morning, a person walks into my business and talks to my associates, my employees, and they said that the Corvette on Wednesday night backed into his car in Wilmington, Delaware. And so I went down to talk to the gentleman. He looked honest. He was about 50, 55 years old, typical DuPont type employee in Wilmington, Delaware. And he took me out front of my business, and he showed that he had this big Buick Electra, and that the back bumper had been pushed in where it actually did damage to the paint. And we're talking, and I'm thinking, wow, Jill's a pretty good driver. I can't believe she did this. And I'm talking to him, and I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, well, he said he was coming back to pay for the damage. And I stopped, and I said, hey. He goes, oh, Jill wasn't driving. Senator Biden was driving the car and backed it into my car. He said he would come back in a few days and pay. Greg, I knew. And that was it. That's how I found out.
Wow. So you later got divorced. And one of the things that, quite frankly, I always liked about you, because I first heard this story in 2020. And you told the story like I like you just did, and it was interesting. You told it in a way, it was like we all knew the truth, but you kind of you didn't disparage your ex-wife, and you acknowledged, I don't know, you were young and things happen. You really have no bitterness toward her, correct?
I have no bitterness toward her. I don't blame her for anything. Many people have said, and I agreed, we were young. These things happen, and I have no bitterness toward her whatsoever. As I have thought it out, though, and as I saw her on the stage the other night scream, "What does Trump do? He's a liar." Greg, that has changed everything. I just don't recognize that young lady up there as being my former wife. It's sort of like opened up my mind a little bit that, maybe she is a little bit of a driving force with what's going on now.
So what do you think about this? Now, you know that Joe Biden's a liar. We all know it. We've seen him lie like crazy over the years. He really did make your life hell in Delaware. I mean, literally, correct?
Correct. What basically I think happened was I had made a lot of money early. When I met Jill, I was working for like $2.50, just like everybody else at a beach resort town of Ocean City. I was having a great life. And I met her. Listen, she's a special person. She was a very good-looking woman. She caught my heart. Yes, the divorce broke my heart, but I got over it. Then, all of a sudden, I realized that we're offering her close to $1 million for 5 years of marriage. She's already on her way to her master's and doctorate degree, and they take me to divorce court, public divorce court. At the last minute, she fires her lawyers and hires Joe Biden's former law partner. It was crazy, Greg.
So, but you came out ahead in the end. I think the judge realized you were being screwed. So the judge accounted for all the stuff you had given Jill, and you actually got a pretty decent deal out of it. You embarrassed Joe Biden. The judge humiliated Joe Biden because Joe came in, got involved, screwed everything up. And from that point on, we think he was out to get you. And I mean, I find this the most compelling case. In April of 1982, you were indicted for failing to pay your employees, I think, federal withholding tax, FICA. You had $8,000 to distribute to the employees quarterly, on a quarterly basis. It was April 8th when they indicted you for not paying for the first quarter of 1982. 8 days late with $8,000. You were 8 days late, and they indicted you and your brother. Hauled you into federal court.
Me and my brother.
They arrested you guys. They arrested you.
They came down and literally put handcuffs on us for $8,000. But let me tell you something I've never shared with you. At that point in 1982, we were coming up on our 10th anniversary. The bar had already grossed. This is not just some little local corner bar, Greg. This bar in its lifetime grossed over $120 million. And in the first 10 years, I had already grossed $30 million, and we had already paid $6 million in taxes. So this was late by 8 days, and we knew at that point, and everybody knew at that point, that this was political and that my former friend who I backed and my U.S. senator was coming after me. In other words, just like he's doing now, the former President Trump, he literally sicked the Department of Justice on me, Greg.
It's unbelievable. And for a pittance and for nothing.
The check was in the mail.
It is amazing.
That's what's so ridiculous. I mean, everybody around here, it's so funny. The News Journal puts it on like, oh, my God, Bill Stevenson is late on $8,000 worth of taxes. And I'm going, what? I read the headlines, and it actually made me laugh out loud before it was even laugh out loud was funny.
And the News Journal, speaking of, I wonder if they're going to rise to the occasion that they have hidden from. They know Joe Biden, but I guess they're intimidated, that whole truth to power crap, because you and I have been talking for, I don't know, almost a year. and we have documented your story. We told it. It's been picked up by the international press. And for some reason, the only newspaper in Delaware doesn't want to talk about it. And I think, just guessing here, it's a pretty interesting and, quite frankly, pretty juicy story as far as Delaware goes, right?
You said something in the first sentence of this conversation. Delaware is a very small state. Delaware is a very small state. Everybody knows what everybody's doing anyway, regardless of the news journal, but they are the only game in town. They are the only major paper. I have been in that paper hundreds of times prior to him becoming president. The minute I spoke out that I wasn't real happy with him becoming president, and I told the story that they're of the accident, and they have been so upset that I am positive that somebody had to contact the news journal and say, if you write anything about Bill Stevenson, we're not going to contribute any stories of the president to your paper. That had to happen, Greg, because it's been crickets. No calls, no nothing.
Well, it's amazing.
Like I wasn't still here.
Well, but the whole world has reacted except for them, and that's very telling. And I don't know what they're afraid of. You know, you don't really need any special access to this White House. You can see it. You can see it right in front of your face. We all know what's going on. We all know that Joe Biden's failing. We all know that he's a liar. And so, all right, back to Jill. My wife was saying that it's her sense that she wants to stay in that White House in part because the idea of going back to Delaware with Joe, I mean, let's face it, he's gone mentally. She's got, she's like 70, whatever. I mean, she's still got it going on in a way. I mean, she does not want to spend time with him at that house in Delaware. I don't think she's into him. That's just my read on it. I could be wrong.
I saw a little clip on your show the other night when she was on stage and he started telling that ridiculous John Wayne story about a statement that was in a movie. And we all know that the statement wasn't in the movie. And the tragic thing is, on top of everything else, he keeps telling a story that they have probably said. It is not true, Joe. Stop telling it. I have never seen the look of horror on Jill's face ever than that little video you played the other night on Newsmax. Greg, I think she's in shock. I mentioned in the very beginning, I don't even recognize this young lady anymore. She has stepped in. I saw the picture that you had posted that she was sitting at the president's desk, and that was like a big deal. And you're right. I believe that she is so afraid that he's not going to be available to pardon Hunter, if in fact he will. And I just think she does not want to move out of that White House. They mentioned that Trump might not leave the White House. I'm afraid they might have a problem getting Jill out of there.
Wow. Well, Bill, you've made quite a life for yourself, and you came out on top. You came through all the hard times. You've got a thriving business, beautiful wife. Everything's great. What are your final thoughts right now? What do you want to say?
Well, my final thoughts are, why is she blaming former President Trump for all of the problems that Joe and she have created with their programs? It's not that I'm upset with her personally. Yes, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden. He lied. He set me up. And, we'll get that straight down the road with my little book coming out that tells the story. But you have backed me 100%, and I appreciate you letting me tell my story to everybody. It has really helped. I think Jill has got to come to reality that this man is struggling, that it's not fair. I've heard the word elder abuse often and referring to her. I don't know what to do other than just speak out, let everybody know how I feel about this. But somehow, for the better of this country, I think that President Biden has to step aside. And I hope that Jill steps aside with him.
And in November, you're voting for?
President Trump, 100%, baby.
Bill,
I love the guy. Listen, I love the guy's politics. I've loved him as a businessman for years. He is the real deal, and I just wish that people understood him a little bit better because he is going to be so good for this country the next 4 years. I pray that he is president of the United States, and I appreciate you, Greg.
Thank you, Bill. And you guys have an amazing connection, an amazing connection, both hauled into court on fake crap because of Joe Biden, you and Donald Trump. It's quite a connection. Very interesting, very unique. Bill?
I think God brought this little connection into my life when I realized, like a couple years ago, that Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing with the Federal Department of Justice. I mean, I hate to brag, but I'm a pretty popular guy down here in Delaware. I'm well known. I was named one of the 50 most influential people in Delaware over the last 50 years. With him, by the way. He was one of the other 50. And that's an honor that I cherish. So it's not like I'm not well known or not respected. But he used the Department of Justice on me 40 years ago, the exact same MO that he's using on former President Trump now. And as much as I can speak out, I'm going to in the next 4 months because the people have to know what's going on. It happened.
That was a great guy. Great interview, too. I think that was terrific. Bill Stevenson. We'll be hearing a lot from him. You hear that? Over the next 4 months. Big Trump supporter. Bill Stevenson, thank you. Be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
All right. Friday and calls. John from Bohemia. Hello.
Yes, hello. I was wondering if you read the rebuttal letter Robert Moses wrote to the power broker.
No, I know about it. He wrote a big thing for the New York Times. I believe they published it, but no, I never read it. Did you?
Yeah, I read it. It's easy to find online. It's only about 18 pages, but the gist of it is very powerful people had it in from because all the people that owned the land, it was vacant land. If they developed it, they would have made a fortune. So
I want to check that out because it's interesting. It sounds like he might have been the victim of a lot of fake news. Thank you, John. I will check that out. Rich, you're in Texas. Yes.
Good afternoon. Hi. A story that I don't think people have mentioned about Newport, California. There was a horrendous murder over there of a middle-aged couple in high-end Newport, not Connecticut, California, and it's a beautiful area there. And the wife of this New Zealander businessman, very prominent businessman in New Zealand, was murdered. They were accosted by these gangbangers in the parking lot of a high-end shopping area, and he fought them off a little, and I guess he was knocked down to the ground. She was knocked down. They dragged her through the parking lot, and one of the waiting gangbangers purposely ran her over. 105-mile-an-hour chase ensued, and they did capture all three. And just another horrendous murder in this country.
Yeah, I did. I'm looking at them right there. Patricia Trish McKay and her husband, Doug McKay. Oh, God, yeah, no, I saw a glimpse of it. I didn't know everything you just said, though, and I'm catching up on it now. I want to know how old those gangbangers were, too. I want to find out. I want to know a little bit more about that. And I also want to know why the hell Barack Obama is not doing more to fight gang activity in America, okay? Yeah, all right, I'm making a couple of leaps, and I have a feeling. Thank you. Peter in Staten Island, yes.
Hi. The Republicans are making a huge mistake. They're totally rebranding the opposition wrong. The whole system has been lying and deceiving the United States people.
What are the Republicans doing wrong?
They are basking in the glow of President Biden's disappointing performance at the debate. We knew that all the time.
Yeah, but the media didn't. I'm still enjoying the glow. All right, you're going to have to get back to me on what you think is the right thing to do. Sorry, everybody else. Have a great weekend.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.